In today's transmission, we are going to be talking about one of the spiritual techniques that Jesus spoke of that I feel like almost nobody speaks about. It might be one of the most powerful ideas, concepts, items that the rich used to become richer, the poor used to be poorer, the happy people used to become happier, and the sad people used to become sadder. And yet it's an idea that is right now only known within the banking industry, and they only talk about it in regards to finance, but it has an impact that pervades all of the cosmos. Everyone deals with it, everyone goes through it, and yet we don't know how to use it. So in this podcast, in this transmission, in this video, I am going to show you and teach you how Jesus's concepts around the ideas of momentum will change your life forever. And by the end of this podcast, you will know how you can use this for your thoughts, for your actions, such that you can become the master of your universe, of your world. So without further delay, what is it that I am speaking of? Well, there's a quote that Jesus has, which is, "To those who have some, more shall be given. To those who have nothing, all shall be taken." And what's crazy about this is that in a perfect world, you would think that everything would be equalized. Everyone would have the same amount of resources. Everyone would have the same amount of access to, let's say healthcare. But yet here we have Jesus saying that if you have a little bit of stuff, you'll be given everything. If you have nothing, they're going to take even more away from you. Now, why would he be saying that? Why would God's child, God's incarnation, whatever you believe Jesus is, when the reality is we're all children of God, but regardless, whatever you believe Jesus to be, that closest little pinnacle to the source energy, why is it that he would have this knowledge of saying that, well, if you got a little bit, I'm going to give you more. If you don't have anything, I'm taking it all away. Why would he say that? Well, there's a couple ideas and concepts that are wrapped up into this, and throughout science, we call it something different. We call it the Pareto distribution, the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule, where you see that 80% of things go to 20% of the items. You see it in finance. 80% of the wealth goes to 20% of the people. You see it in the cosmos. 80% of the galaxy, or 20% of the galaxies hold 80% of the mass of all planets. So it's not something that's just a human principle, it's a law of nature. And so the question is how do you utilize this to become more wealthy, to become more powerful? Well, the idea is momentum. In every aspect of your life, you are creating momentum in a direction. Whatever it is. The idea is where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention, your energy, is focused on problems and weaknesses, you'll attract in more problems. Your mind is focused on problems, so the universe will give you more problems. However, if you're focused on solutions, if you're focused on making money, the universe will give you more solutions, more money, more success. And don't get me wrong, I know what I'm saying here is okay to understand in concept, but hard to on the practical layer to implement. And we'll get to that. But right now, we need to just fully embody that when we focus on something, that something will grow. If you focus on a business, it will grow. You focus on a relationship, it will grow. Whatever it is, if you're focusing on it, it's going to grow. Now, the question is it something you want to be fostering? Is it something you want to be growing? Because when we focus on those negative things, we start to create momentum. And this is where compound interest comes in. This is where that key aspect of those who have some, more shall be given, those who have less, all shall be taken, comes into play. Is compounding, momentum. It's the idea of, would you rather save a penny and double it every day and over time? Or would you rather get like $100 every day for a month? And if you do the penny and keep doubling it, over time it grows into like $1 million within 30 days. But what people don't understand is it's because of momentum, and you're creating that with everything in your life. If you create momentum in a failing direction, you'll create more failing. And you have to pay attention to your thoughts. You have to pay attention to your actions. What are you doing? What are you thinking? How are you behaving? And this is kind of where the idea of meditation comes into play, is the idea of meditating and being so consciously aware of where your mind is going, because that's the direction your life is going. What you're focusing on, where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if you want to create peace, you need to focus on peace. If you want to create hatred and war, you need to focus on hatred and war. It goes from the biggest things down to the smallest things. So what can you do? How can you utilize this knowledge to be the best version of yourself? How can you utilize this piece of indigo education to transform your life? Well, the very first thing you need to do and be aware of is to start small. I'll give you an analogy. Imagine you have a car at the top of a hill, and someone starts pushing that car, and it's coming towards the edge, and eventually it starts going down the hill. Now, maybe at first it's going 5 miles an hour, but over time it's going to pick up speed. 10, 15, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200. So now you have a car moving 200 miles per hour down a hill. Is it easy to change the direction of that car? No. Would it have been a lot easier to change the direction whenever it was at 5 miles per hour? Definitely. So certain things, certain thoughts, certain ideas that are like that 200 mile per hour car, you need to slowly start pushing it back. You need to slowly start moving the car in a way so that it's focused on somewhere else, so that its energy, so that its attention is going in a different direction. Now, maybe there's something in your life that's only moving 5 miles per hour and you don't like the direction that it's going. You slowly need to shift that to the different direction. You slowly need to move it in a different way. And you'll have more power to do so. And there's some things that are just standing at the top of the hill, some things you've never thought about. Because this goes with everything. If it goes from podcasting, how good at your mental thoughts of how good of a podcaster am I? How well can I articulate to people? Because these thoughts fester in your mind. If you've never ran a podcast before, you may already have, without even knowing, preconceived notions of how well of a public speaker you are. Even as I'm talking about this now, certain things have gone off in your mind. I'm this good. I'm really bad. I'm really good. I'm really bad at this. And you've just started creating momentum in regards to being a podcaster. If you want to be bad, keep telling yourself you're bad. Keep telling yourself you're unarticulate. But what you need to do, if you want, is to change those into the positive direction. Change them into the direction of, no, I'm a good podcaster. No, I'm articulate. No, I'm charismatic. And what you have to realize is that if it's something you've never thought of before, right? Maybe, for example, it's like petting dogs. Everyone just pets. You don't think about whether or not you're doing a good or bad job. There will be an equal competition for your mind space. The good thoughts will want to convince you you're a good dog petter. The bad thoughts will want to convince you you're a bad dog petter. And then they'll fight. You are the deciding factor. You decide which one gets momentum. And then that'll happen. You'll see it play out in your life. But now there are bigger things at play. There are bigger energies, if you will. There are bigger thoughts that are plaguing your mind. Usually around money. I'm terrible with money. Why do I never have enough money? I never can find enough money. Why does everybody hate me? Why am I such a loser? Why does nothing go my way? Everything's always wrong. You have created a lifetime of energy in these directions. These are the car that is moving at 200 miles an hour down the hill. So you need to slowly start chipping away at them. You need to slowly start moving them in a different direction. Another good analogy for this is dominoes. You line up a bunch of dominoes, and whenever you flick them, they start falling down. That's momentum, right? You flick the one domino, it creates a chain reaction that keeps knocking down dominoes. So what you have to do is remove a domino before the chain reaction occurs. And by doing so, you'll cut off that momentum. So you start going in a downward spiral. You start thinking about how, well, I did it this time and that time and this time and that time. You have to cut those energies. You have to mentally stop focusing on those energies. If you want to. If you want to keep thinking about them, if you're happy with where you are, who am I to tell you what to do with your life? My point is, though, is that if you want to change the direction of your life, this is how you do it. This is how you create momentum in a different direction. And then the universe, your mind will start giving you evidence for those things. It'll start giving you evidence of a time that you articulated something perfectly, a time that you helped someone, a time whenever you made a lot of money. And then your mind starts fixating on that, fixates on you being a winner. And the next thing you know, a year goes by and your life is completely different. You're from broke to making well over $10,000 a month. Like myself, in case you guys didn't know about my journey. Less than a year. It happens very quickly. It can happen very quickly. And for those of you who haven't intimately been following my journey, those some of the early videos I was making, was that within a year, I went from being absolutely broke, learning the indigo education knowledge. I was making almost no money. Within a year, making well over 10K per month. And in the last month, I think I've probably added on to it to a couple more $1,000 per month. So what are we probably at? We're probably at about 15 now. But I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to help show you that your mindset will change course. And here's the beautiful thing is it doesn't stop. Yes, the challenges get bigger. Different things will happen. We'll have to do more indigo education podcasts on all of that. But the point that I'm trying to make is like, now that's my direction. My direction is to continuously increase my wealth, my money, my income, my charisma, my speaking abilities. That's probably another thing that you can verify for yourself. That one you can actually verify is go back to one of my first podcasts, one of my first solo podcasts. Compare my ability to speak and my articulation back then with how it is now. I guarantee you'll see night and day. All of this because I started focusing. I started paying attention to how I articulated myself, how my vocal cords vibrate, how other speakers are doing things that I want to do with their tone, with their storytelling. I get told all the time now that I'm a great storyteller, but the narrative I had for the longest time was that I was a bad storyteller. I can't tell stories. Who knows me as a storyteller? I can't tell them what I'm so bad at them. But then I changed the narrative and now my life is in this direction. Now I get told how great of a storyteller I am. So keep going. Keep going. Use this knowledge. This is very powerful knowledge. This is knowledge that the elite of this world have. And so I highly recommend that you pay attention. And if you're struggling to pay attention, I am coming out with a kind of like a meditation, if you will. I've talked about it on here before, so you may already know it, but I'm going to be releasing it hopefully within the next week or two. It'll be a short meditation. It's only going to be like $5. We're going to use that money to create churches for King Jesus. I don't know if you can see over my left shoulder here, but for the King Jesus Church, because we need to bring those energies. That's a whole nother conversation. I know I released an Indigo Education podcast about that a while ago, but yeah, so as I get done bragging about how much money I'm making, all that money will be directed towards the spiritual knowledge, the spiritual aspect, creating temples, creating churches to honor Jesus as a king. So in order to do that, we need you guys to have more energy. We need you guys to become more powerful, because it's not enough for just myself to be powerful. I want you guys to be powerful. I want you guys to be able to support my mission so that I can support your mission, so that we can support Earth. And it becomes this whole circle, if you will, of, well, if I support you, you support them, they support me, then you know what I mean? We all become one family of supporting each other. So yeah, so we'll be releasing that hopefully within the next week or two. In order to get an update on that, make sure you sign up for my newsletter. You can find it in my master link down below. And with all that being said, if you have any questions, drop them as a comment. I'll get back to you. But if you feel like your question isn't of the third dimensional kind, then we'll have I butchered it. Then we'll have a talk about it whenever I see you in the sixth dimension.